Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of the day you're watching this broadcast. This is Dr. Eric Tangumongkem with IEM Approach, where we inspire, equip, and motivate people to discover God's great potential in them, develop that potential, and deploy it. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Please, will you do me a favor? Share this broadcast and invite other people to join us. If you're listening via the IEM Approach podcast, I want to say thank you for tuning in. Share the broadcast and encourage other people to join us. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, I encourage you to do so as well. That is one way you can help this initiative. If you haven't secured a copy of this book, I encourage you to do so. All what we are talking about is coming out of the book for the next 52 weeks. Each day, we are going to handle a particular topic that I encourage you to put in more time and more effort to develop that area of your life. You may be wondering why I took this initiative upon myself. The first reason is that when I came to the United States almost 2 decades ago, there wasn't a comprehensive roadmap like what I have in this book. I've made a lot of mistakes over the years, and I've shared some of those mistakes with you, and I'll keep sharing some of those mistakes with you. And that's why I put together this roadmap of 52 different areas of your life as an immigrant that you need to be working on. You can expand this 52 to as many other areas as you deem fit. However, if you can take care of these 52 different areas, if you can follow this roadmap, I guarantee you, you are going to do fine. We've already seen that you cannot go wrong if you ask questions. You cannot go wrong if you go back to school. You cannot go wrong if you know who you are. You cannot go wrong if you get reconciled back to your Heavenly Father. You cannot go wrong if you believe that you are unstoppable. You cannot go wrong if you expand your network. A friend of mine, after listening to the podcast, he is Oliver of the Minka system. He wrote to me that your network is equal to your net worth. Your network is equal to your net worth. In other words, the more people you are connected to, the wealthier you are. Because let's face it, at the end of the day, if you're in business, you need people to buy your products. And the more people that can buy those products, the more money you're going to make. Today, we're going to be talking about a subject that may appear to be mundane to most of us. However, I want you to listen carefully because your very life is at stake. There are too many sad stories of people dying in the United States and all over the world because of motor vehicles. It is sad. The young die, the old die, and it's something that you have to think about. I don't want you to come this far and you lose your life because you are operating a motor vehicle. That is why we're going to be talking about learning how to drive. Learning how to drive. I've had 2 close calls in the United States. The very first one was when I just got here as a student. I wasn't driving yet, so I was riding my bicycle. One morning, I rode a bicycle to the bank, and on my way back, I was riding on the right-hand side of the road as close to the curb as possible. Maybe if I knew better, I would have been riding the bicycle on the sidewalk. But there I was, riding my bicycle on one of the busy streets. I just passed this traffic light, and out of a sudden, this vehicle came behind me from nowhere and hit me. I was not even having my helmet on. I come from a country where safety is not really part of the culture. And that is why I'm bringing up this conversation, because some of us are coming from countries where we don't have a safety culture. We talk about it, think about it, but it's not really ingrained in us. If I had a safety culture, I would have at least had a helmet on when I was riding that bicycle. This lady hit me. I fell on the tarmac, and as I was falling down, I was just thinking in my head, oh no, she's going to climb over me or something. She stopped her car, came out, and inquired if I was doing okay. I had a few bruises. And my bicycle was not completely mingled. I could ride a bicycle, and she told me, oh, I didn't see you, or something like that. And that was the first close call. The second close call, fast forward, I learned how to drive, got my first vehicle. My wife just had a second child. And you know, just the two of us here, she's in the hospital, I'm a student, I'm shuttling between going to the hospital to give her food, coming home to take care of our son, and just going to school, and all that. I didn't have enough sleep. So I'm driving down one of our busy highways here in Dallas, 75, driving south, going to Parkland Hospital in the middle of the day. And I felt so tired and sleepy to the point where I rolled down the windows, did everything to stay awake, but I couldn't. I got to a point where the sleep completely overwhelmed me, and I fell asleep on the wheel. And my car moved from the lane that I was driving into the next lane. I don't know how that happened, and I didn't hit somebody, and somebody didn't hit me from behind. We're talking driving at 70 miles per hour. That was a second close call. I could have died. Some people have fallen asleep on the wheel and died. And today we're going to be having a very frank conversation. Operating a motor vehicle is one of the most dangerous things for those of you who drive that you do on a daily basis. If you don't get hit, somebody's going to hit you. And that is why it's very important to do it right. Your life is at stake. You may not come back home if you don't do it right. We are going to be laying emphasis on doing it right, laying emphasis on following the law, laying emphasis on obeying the law. And right now, we have some other tensions in the country, because when you drive, you're going to have an interaction with the police. And right now, the discourse is very toxic. I'm going to be sharing some of my own experiences with you and what I think we can all do to make the driving more peaceful and safer. So you need to learn how to drive. When I just got here, I had another student, friend of mine from some other African country. And one day he came back and said, oh, I hit somebody's mailbox and it fell apart. Now we need to come up with the money to get that mailbox fixed. He was using somebody's car to learn how to drive and hit somebody's mailbox with it. Learning to drive can be scary. Learning to drive can be nerve-wracking. I know most immigrants come from countries where owning a car is a status symbol, and few people have cars, least talk of people driving. And some come from countries where it's possible to get a driver's license. As shocking as this is, you can literally bribe your way and get a driver's license without learning how to drive. It's shocking, but it's done in some places. And that is why you are here now. You want to learn how to drive, and it's going to be scary. I don't want you to be scared. Many people have gone ahead of you and they've learned how to drive. I came to the United States. I didn't know how to drive. Initially, it was very difficult. It was scary. And but I realized that if I don't learn how to drive, life was going to be somehow difficult for me, because the city that I live in, distances are far apart, and using the metro was really not an option. You may be living in a city where you don't have the need to drive. However, you're not going to get stuck in the city all your life. You are going to see along the line that I'm proposing and encouraging people, immigrants, to drive across the country and visit other places. Yes, you may fly there, but actually having road trips and camping and doing all that is going to spice up your life and give you a feel of the country. So learning to drive is going to help a lot. I know sooner or later we may not need to drive because self-driving cars may take over, but until we get there, now that you're here right now, I think it's your place to learn how to drive, and to learn how to drive appropriately. The first thing you need to do is, there are two ways you can learn to drive. You can go to a driving school, or a host or a friend can help teach you how to drive. I didn't go to a driving school. I was taught by friends to drive. And if friends are teaching you how to drive, it's very important you read the rules of driving. There are resources available that are going to help you learn what the traffic rules are and how to follow them. These traffic rules, let me say that they've been written in blood. Somebody got hurt, and that is why the rules have been put in place to make the roads safe. The traffic rules are not suggestions. They are not proposals. You have to follow the rules. I'm not saying that I follow the rules or that I've been very faithful in following the rules. There have been situations where I've been pulled over, as I'm going to talk about it, because I didn't follow the rules. But it's for your safety that you make sure you follow the rules and know them and drive appropriately. Now, this is for you who wants to teach somebody who has just moved into the country to drive. It can get awkward. If it's your younger brother and you want to teach them to drive, you already have a car and you are thinking, it's just my brother, I'm just going to use my car and teach him or her to drive. Or it may be a cousin, your relative, a friend, and you want to use your car to teach them to drive. As much as it appears to be helpful, it's not the best way to go about it. I know I'm going to be flagged for saying this, but from experience, and remember, we're having this conversation because we don't want you to make the mistakes that other people have made. I keep saying it's okay for you to make your own mistakes, but if you repeat the mistakes that other people have made, you are not being smart. Do everything possible. Do everything possible to avoid mistakes that other people have already made. in every area of your life. And that is why you need to be a student. You need to be reading. You need to be learning. You need to be listening to the right people. It's very, very important. Why do you want to reinvent the wheel? Why do you want to waste time repeating mistakes you could avoid? That's not being smart. Do you want to move faster? And part of the purpose and the reason for putting this resource together, it's because I want you to move faster, take a shorter time, and achieve bigger things. So don't repeat other people's mistakes. Please don't. And the only way you're going to know mistakes other people have made is by reading and listening to people who are frank enough to share with you some of their struggles and the areas of their failures. I always remember what Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, says that if he has not written a book, but if he's ever going to write a book, he's going to write a book on the mistakes that he has made. You know, we always like to hear success stories, but we don't know that for every one success story, there are countless mistakes that have been tied behind that success. So if you just focus on the success without understanding the process, you are not going to go far. And that is why most people struggle when they're only looking for hearing what is good, but not trying to understand where people have made mistakes and to avoid those mistakes. It's going to save you a lot of money, a lot of time, and it can even save you your life. So if you want to teach somebody to drive, if you want to learn how to drive, get your own motor vehicle, buy your own car first, and get insurance under your name before you learn how to drive. Now you are telling me, okay, so what's going to happen? How do I buy a car that I don't know how to drive? A friend can go with you to the car dealership and drive the car home. Learning to drive without having your own car is not the best thing to do, because you who is trying to use your car to teach a relative or a friend to drive, and that friend is not having insurance, that friend is not covered, and if you get involved in an accident, it doesn't really go very well. The driver who is learning to drive is not covered, and you are now placed in a situation where you have to falsify whatever happened to be able to get out of it. Don't place yourself in that situation where you are using your insured car to teach somebody to drive, and things can go wrong and it's not going to be good. They should buy their car. You should use their car to teach them how to drive. This is very important, because when the person buys the car with their own money and they know the cost of buying that car, they're going to value their investment. They have a skin in the game. And because they have a skin in the game, they will be more cautious, they will follow instructions, they will listen keenly. And by the way, they are paying for insurance, they're putting gas in that car, they are liable to do the repairs and maintain the car and all that. That makes it they take it serious. But if they're using your car, and they don't know how much it costs you to buy it, even if they know that really is not experiential for them, they can wreck your car. Not intentionally, just because free stuff, who values something that is free? If you don't have skin in the game, you don't value it. And that's why some of you are having difficulties trying to teach your relatives and your friends to drive, because the concept of ownership, you're trying to teach them, but you're having a lot of conflict. You can avoid all this conflict. Let he or she who wants to drive get their own car, use that car, and teach them how to drive. That is going to save all of you a lot of headache, a lot of explaining. This appears to be tough, but tough love. This good love. Implement this. If you've forgotten everything I've said today, don't use your car to teach people to drive. Let them buy their own car. Buying the car is an indication they are ripe to drive. If they just want to learn how to drive for the sake of driving and they don't have a car, it doesn't make sense. If they're ripe to drive, they should buy a car. If you disagree with me, please join the conversation. I'd like to hear what you think about this. However, if you've bought your own car, you've learned to drive, I want to encourage you to follow the traffic rules. Your life hinges on it. I did a lot of defensive driving when I started working for Schlumberger, and they drummed into us the need for safe driving and making sure you are in control of the space that is in front of you and even the space that you have behind you when you drive. You have to safety all the time, and don't be reckless when you start driving, because you'll be endangering your own life and the life of other motorists. We cannot talk about driving without mentioning interaction with the police, because there are lots of traffic rules and we have the police to enforce them. Some of the rules don't make sense. Some of the rules are just awkward. For example, some streets, to make a right turn, you have to bring your car to a complete stop. In some states, it's not like that. So there are those nuances right there. So you approach a traffic light, and you are thinking, okay, when should I make the turn or not? And so you have to be aware of all these rules and make sure you have the right attitude towards the rule. Now, if you break a traffic rule and you are pulled over, before I even tell you what you have to do, my own case, I've been pulled over 15 times. I can tell you every single time I've been pulled over, where it happened and what happened, all the 15 times over the years. I'm not proud of that. However, as I said, I mean, take for example, one morning I get up, I'm trying to take my kids to school, and my wife is like, "Oh, husband, is the child?" Our little boy was like, "Oh, let me go together. Let me accompany my siblings and just see them off." So I'm in a rush, and my wife is like, "Is the baby on a car seat?" I'm like, "Oh, come on, car seat. Well, you're just like a mile away. We're just going to school, and there's no need for a car seat." She was right. Now we drove just about a mile. Now I get to the school zone, and I'm trying to make a left turn into the school. There's a sign there. I've been dropping my kids in that school for a very long time. And in my mind, I'm thinking, this sign says that I should not make a left turn at the light. So we have a light a few feet away from where I was going to make that left turn and enter the school. So but the sign says that don't make a left during school hours to get into school from that direction. I mean, I've made that left turn a couple of times. There was no police officer there. So to me, it was okay to make the left turn. And immediately I made a left turn, and I was about to drop my kids. I heard a police siren behind me. And that day, I was driving without my glasses. I was driving with one of my son was not in the car seat. So the police officer pulls over. And now as the police officer is pulling over, I'm like, man, I don't have my glasses on. What am I going to do? This is going to be three now. I was surprised. It's like, I didn't know what was going on. Like, so the police officer comes over and she said, what's going on here? The child is not in the car seat. You made a wrong turn, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, I didn't know I shouldn't make the turn. She was like, yeah, you should know. Give me a citation. I escaped the part of receiving a citation for not having glasses, because immediately she was pulled over. Like, man, I don't have my glasses on. I just grabbed my daughter's glasses and put them on. Not very proud of that. Now, what I'm saying is this. I've had a lot of encounters with police officers, male and female, in New York. I remember I went to New York and I was driving to Long Island. I'd taken my cousin's car, and I was about to enter under the Lincoln Tunnel, and somehow I missed my exit, and I found myself in downtown Manhattan. And since I made a wrong turn, I was now going against the oncoming traffic. This police lady pulls me, and she's like, "No, dude, give me your driver's license and all that." And the car I was driving was a Jeep, and I did not know how to put down the glasses. And that is why, if ever you move out of state, maybe rent a car, you're driving somebody's car, please do me a favor, make sure you learn where things are. Because the way I was fidgeting in the car, it was not a very good thing, because this lady, she was more thinking I'm trying to get a gun or weapon or something. So I am struggling where to put down the glass. I didn't know that for the Jeep, you put down the glasses, the buttons that you have to press are somewhere between you and the passenger seat. So I finally figured that out. I rolled down my glasses and was like, "Oh, I'm very sorry. I'm from Texas, and came here for a wedding. I just lost my way, and I didn't get a ticket." And so the 15 times I've been pulled over, 15 times I was on the wrong, times that I didn't stop at the four-way stop signs, times I'm speeding. I joke and tell people I didn't drive when I was a kid, so now I'm trying to catch up. Anyway, I need to slow down. So all these 15 times, I've been wrong. I've received 5 tickets and forgiven 10 times. And I say this in the backdrop of, I could say that, oh, I'm a minority, they've been picking on me. No, it's not true. I've not just been as careful I'm supposed to be. And that is why I'm appealing to all of us who are driving. Please, we need to be more careful, and we need to have the anticipation of these cops are reasonable. Most of them are, or my interactions so far have been very, very reasonable. And we can diffuse situations when we admit that we are wrong, and we don't try to confront the police officers when we get pulled over. Please, I know some people are saying that, oh, the police force is completely rotten, it's a rotten tree, we need to completely get rid of it. The closest I got to being killed by a law enforcement officer was in the country that I was born. I have the scar on my body to prove that. And now that I think about that incident, even though I didn't do anything wrong, if I had shut my mouth and didn't say anything, nothing would have happened. We're asked to stand on the line and identify ourselves, and I had on me my student ID card. And when I gave the ID card to the law enforcement officer, he looked at it and he said, "No, this is not an identification document." And I was thinking, wow, this is one of the state universities, and this guy he should know that, you know, my picture is there. It's a national university, and I'm the person that I am on that document. And so I was talking to somebody in front of me that I don't know what this man wants. You know, I thought my ID was good enough, and the thing escalated from there. And so stops. I say this with this backdrop. I did the Citizens Police Academy in my city here in Richardson, and that just opened a new world to me concerning policing, that I wish everybody could take this class and see how dangerous the policing can be. And at times, when you are stopped by the police, the situation can easily escalate and go out of control because you don't know what is going to happen. And that is why the police have to be on high alert. If you're not alert, you're not going to go back home. When we hear about all the shootings, which is very, really unfortunate, few is mentioned about the police officers that don't go back home. And it's easy to say, oh, shoot to disenable people, but when criminals have encounters with the police, they're trying to get them out. So it's a difficult job. So I want to, as an immigrant, you've come in, there's already stuff going on to play your own part, and when you get pulled over, please let your hands be visible at all times. Don't fidget, don't get out of the car and try to run and all that, because nobody's going to tell if you don't open your mouth and speak, they won't know what is going on. So it's good to get up each day, believe that you're going to meet reasonable people out there to treat you right, and when you are wrong, you should admit it and don't escalate the situation. You can always have your day in court. I've gone to court for all these times. I got pulled over and they give me a ticket, and I try to ask for sentences to be reduced or the amount of payment and things like that. So you always, if you think that you're really on the right and somebody has wronged you, please follow the law. You better be alive than dead. As somebody says, make sure you choose the hill that you are willing to die on carefully. Are you willing to die on because you got pulled over? Really, what is it that you're trying to achieve by doing that? Now, I'm about to wrap up. We've been talking about driving, the need for you to get your own vehicle, the need for you to make sure you follow the traffic rules and know that you need to be careful. And lastly, if you're tired, please don't drive. It's a bad idea. And the last thing is don't drink and drive. Please don't drink and drive. You can lose your life. You can also hurt some other person. Don't drink and drive. I remember when I was a kid, growing up in Cameroon, and some drivers drink and drive, and they're like, oh, the alcohol is going to help my visibility. It doesn't clear your eyes. It makes you a very dangerous driver. If you're going out to drink, have a designated driver who is not going to drink so they can drive you home. Thank God these days we have Uber. You can call Lyft or Uber to drop you. Please don't drink and drive. Don't mix. I know I'm going to say it, and some you're listening, you're still going to do it the other way. You're risking your life. You may be drinking and driving. As they used to say, 99 days for the thief and 1 day for the master or the owner of the house. It's going to catch up with you eventually. Don't drink and drive. You did not come this far to lose your life because you drink and drive. Thank you very much for listening. God bless you. Stay tuned for more updates. You've been listening to Dr. Eric Tangumonkan with IEM Approach, where we inspire, equip, and motivate people to discover God's great potential in them, develop this potential, and deploy it. Until next time, God bless you.